December 18th, 2022. My name is Łukasz Kabzinski. This is testimony number 3 about Steve. As stated in part 2 of the documentary, usually when I hang out with Franciszek, he drives me back to my parents' flat. We then sit down in the car for a couple of minutes, sometimes a little bit longer, and there's general banter and everything, right? So on one occasion in 2015, and Peter was there with us as well. So there were three of us. All of a sudden, there's a guy urinating on the parking space. Next to the parking space, there's a guy urinating. I mean, I pulled out my phone. I started recording. I mean, it's just quite funny, right? I'm filming. We're laughing and everything. And guy stops. He finishes, and then he approaches us quite aggressively. I mean, quite aggressively. I don't want to say threatening demeanor, but I mean, here's the video.
Na mnie się ktoś patrzył, to też nie mogę się wysilać.
Witamy w Gdańsku. Halo, halo! Proszę pana, co pan robi? Nie ma pan żadnej broni przypadkiem?
Przepraszam. Party?
Pan po polsku mówi.
No, mało.
A skąd pan jest?
A ty?
Ja stąd.
Ja też. Przepraszam, nie rozumiem po polsku.
Where are you from?
Where are you from?
I'm from here.
Ja też.
So what language do you speak?
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Polski pani moje? No. Ja też, ja nie lubię. Nie lubię! No, słuchaj, ty, słuchaj mnie. There's a Polish man, a German man, and a Russian man. You know? They have a competition. They have to carry the melon from point A to point B. The German man says, I can carry one melon. He puts the melon, it's the biggest motherfucking melon you've seen in your life. Carries it from point A to point B. He drops it down. The Polish man says, I will carry two kurwa melons. One in this hand, one in this hand. Takes it from point A to point B. He drops it down. The Russian man said, I'll carry three kurwa melons. Yeah. No? One here, and one here. No? He does it. The Polish man says, whoa! I'll carry 5 melons. 5 melons. One here. The Russian here. Good one, that's a good one, yeah.
That's strange interaction, very strange. This is how I met Steve, right? Guy was taking the piss underneath my parents' flat, literally. So there were a couple of interactions with Steven. The reason he was living in Poland, he's wanted for some drugs or something in the UK, and he's hiding in Poland. And it didn't make much of a sense. This is not exactly a different continent. I didn't inquire any further. What he used to do for a living, he was teaching English as second language, business owners, because apparently they are willing to pay a lot of money to be able to speak to, for being able to speak to a native speaker, right? So he was charging, 30, 40, 150, 200 zlotys per hour, at least as per his account. Sounded quite lucrative. There was a conversation about starting an English language school in Gdansk together. Like he said that I could also do it because of how proficient I am and everything. And another thing that he was doing, he was at the time he was a tourist guide as well. So in Gdansk there are, there are those tour guides operating those golf carts, electric vehicles, driving around, taking tourists on board, tours, sightseeing tours, that kind of a thing. I did a tryout day with him. I didn't really like it. There was some Norwegians that we took on board June 2015, most likely. Didn't like it. And I certainly wasn't willing to sacrifice my low-paid job at the time at Lebara for being a tour guide in Gdansk. It didn't sound very attractive to me. During that tryout day, there was a friend, former classmate, who appeared out of nowhere. Well, Gdansk, central Gdansk, right? But looking back, perhaps it was not coincidental. So that's that much. We appeared, we exchanged hellos, and then in order for me to participate in that tryout day, there was a Polish guy who was running that business. He was driving a British car in Poland, legal, right? Half the price, apparently, right? So he's driving a right-hand side wheel car, and there's a lot of people like that in Poland. It's just, you know, cheaper cars. Overtaking is a bit of an issue, but hey. And in order for me to participate in that tryout day, they took a picture of my national ID. At the time, most likely it was my current one, the one that I'm using right now. I renewed it in June of 2015, so most likely it's possible that it was that ID. Also, it could have been the previous one, the first one. Not too sure now, but they definitely took a picture with the phone. So God knows what happened with that picture, right? Could have been used for something. So that's a couple of meetings with Steven, along with Franciszek. There was one meeting in a pub in Gdansk around the same year, and there was one in KFC. Franciszek picked us up and drove us back, and that's it. Steven at the time used to live next to the courthouse in Gdansk, central Gdansk, and yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all my interactions with Steven. Interesting character, and worth noting about him is he speaks Polish. He can communicate in Polish. Obviously, it's not going to be amazing, but his English, I would say, it doesn't sound. And again, I'm not the best in judging accents and everything. I wouldn't know, you know, regional twangs and everything. But there's something, just he doesn't sound 100% like, let's say, like a Londoner, right? So maybe it has to do with the region that he's originally from. Maybe it has to do with something else. But that's definitely something that I picked up during my conversations with him. So yeah, Steven.